Okay, so as I said before, the purpose of this is to walk through at least my personal process of how I think about assembling a video. And we just did this for our Instagram feed for the reels, and I shot it in both orientations. So portrait orientation is best for reels, and I shot it in landscape orientation for YouTube too. And so both serve their purpose, right? Like we need the video to be in multiple locations, and unfortunately, like it's kind of like opposite techniques. So the way that, first of all, the way that I approach this in filming is I'll film stuff vertically and then horizontally. Figures. Okay, so here we are in Adobe Premiere. If you've never seen this before, it's organized into a few different panes and you can move things around, but you end up getting a preview window here. This down here is your timeline where you drag the clips, and this is where you browse for clips. You can do it in a variety of ways. You can either browse for clips in here using this media browser, or if it's easier for you, you can open up a Finder window and let's see, I feel like no, I put these in my documents. 22. I just had to do a wipe of my computer, so there's nothing in here except the latest stuff I've shot. So sometimes this is the easiest way to do it, is to look at a Finder window and basically grab all of your clips and just basically just drag and drop them. I've sorted them by type here, and so you can see that these are all the movie clips and these are all the JPEGs. So it will be different if you're doing it on an iPhone. You might just be, well, on an iPhone, you would probably do it differently, right? You would use Reels or a different app to sort it, but using an SLR, you'll end up with image files, you'll end up with movie files. And so I'm going to take these movie files and I'm just going to drag them and drop them down into the timeline for the project. And so you can see it's importing it. And depending on how much you have, like this is a lot. I mean, I probably have 5 gigs of files in the timeline down here to start. And then I also have pre-selected a song for this too. And so, oops, did I go somewhere wrong? Uh-oh. Oh no, that was right. I couldn't see it because it was behind something else. So a lot of times I will spend a lot of effort looking for a song ahead of actually editing, because I like pacing the video to the song. And so you'll see me working on that now, but it's the same type of thing where you can just grab this and then drag it into your work timeline down here. So now I can get rid of that. And so this is your project timeline. This little bar here will scrub the timeline for you. So you don't have to just hit your space bar and play, but you can actually just drag it back and forth, and you can hear the audio going at the same time too. This sort of median here, everything above it is your video files, and everything below it are your audio files. And these buttons here, the M is like allowing you to mute the track. So if I wanted to just mute the music, I could go in here and you would just hear whatever the camera was recording. So it's like background noise. If I was shooting an ASMR video, you'd be hearing, the sounds of cooking. Like in this next clip, there might be like a really good sound of these hitting the bowl. And so that could certainly be one approach that you take in making a video, is you rely heavily on the sounds of cooking. That's really difficult. As you've already seen, that's really difficult for us to do here because there's always stuff going on. And so we don't really have like a quiet room to do that in like a 2-mile radius of this house. So, so we almost always do either a song or what am I trying to say? Like a voiceover track. You can do both in here too. And the functionality of something like Premiere, even though it's expanded from what you would have natively in Instagram or some other video editing app, you know, you have all those basic functions, but you can do so much more in here too. There's a lot of functionality that's far beyond that. So first thing I will do, and I'm not going to do it here, but the first thing I would do is I would likely just sit here and just start at the beginning and just see what I've got. You know, what looks good in these clips, and things I'm looking for are not only parts of the video that are informative, but things that are also you know, technically good too, where like the camera's steady, the subject is in focus. Like right here, like, you know, in that very brief moment, the camera was in focus. It was showing exactly what to do. I'm already realizing that I'm missing a couple of clips here. Let's see. I think I need to go back to this folder. There's a subfolder that I created in here. So before I decided to shoot this in multiple formats, I was shooting it vertically. And so I need a couple of these vertical clips. I can drag them from here down into the timeline. I wonder why that's not letting me do it. Maybe I'll try and do the Finder window thing that I was showing before. So that the thing I'm trying to say is making sure you've got everything on hand before you start, because once you really get in motion here, it does become more challenging to insert things after the fact. I don't know why that's giving me grief. Just check the file. So this is like, that's got very, very pleasing audio in the background. We can hear birds chirping. We can hear Go Dog Go on Netflix. So I wonder, that's not letting me add that. And I'm actually not really sure why.
It's because you're recording, trying to do something else.
I mean, I hate to say it, but there's always a lot of troubleshooting when you're doing stuff like this. Let me try once more. Is there like a right click function? Import? There we go, import. Is that it? Cool, so that worked, import. You normally don't have to do that. And something's going on in this timeline where audio and video clips are not linked. Normally they are, like normally you'd highlight. So if we zoom in here, normally when you'd highlight a video clip, the audio clip would highlight too. The thing that having them unlinked allows you to do is you can use the audio or video independently of one another. So that's actually really helpful if you want to have audio that expands across clips that weren't filmed at the same time. So essentially like using the audio as a voiceover or vice versa. So let's see, I know I've got that clip, and I think the second one I wanted was also in there too. This was, if you can see I'm dragging my mouse across the clip, and you can actually get a quick preview of what's in that clip there. And so this one has me reaching. So I think that one is all I need. Okay. Hotkeys I'm using today. The minus key lets you zoom out on the timeline. The plus key lets you zoom in. So that's like really helpful. Like say I started getting very like immersed in one of these clips and trying to like cut it very exactly, I would want to zoom way in. Another hotkey that I'll use, you can highlight not only the clips in here, but also the blank spaces. And I don't know if this works if clips are unlinked, but it's called a ripple delete. Yeah, it did. So that's holding shift when you delete. And that basically allows the clips to butt up against one another if you create a gap. So that's really helpful too. Just an editing tool. So the basic functions that we'll be using here will be, I'm probably going to slow the clips down. So we'll be changing the speed, the playback speed of the clips. We'll be cutting the clips. We'll essentially cut the audio track too, because right now you can see the time code here. Right now, this audio track is 3.5 minutes long. That's okay for YouTube. That's really, that length is fine, but I know from yesterday from doing the reel that I really only have about maybe 1.5 minutes of like really good footage here. It's not a complicated recipe. If we were making like a risotto or a cake or something that had a million steps, right? Like, then of course I could fill up 3 minutes, no problem. But this is just like a 3 or 4 ingredient thing that goes together really quickly. Oh, one more thing I've got to do on this clip. So since this clip was filmed vertically, the first thing we're actually going to do, seeing I'm using the plus to zoom in. The first thing we're going to do, and I'm going to actually, if you hold command while you're zooming in, you can expand that timeline too. So I'm going to context click on this with 2 fingers and go into the menu. Actually, I'm doing the wrong thing. We need to rotate this clip. So I know that getting this from horizontal to vertical is a 3/4 turn. So I'm going to put in 270 degrees of rotation. And now it doesn't fill the frame, so I'm going to need to rescale it. So just for this first clip, I've dragged the rotation. I mean, obviously this would be way better if I hadn't filmed it that way, because we're really far in now. And I'm not loving the way that looks, unfortunately. Sometimes you've got to do some weird things. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, because that's not a great first impression in this video. So I'm using my cursor. I'm going to drag and move everything on the video timeline out. I'm going to go and find a really nice finished clip. You can see in these, it's some of these, because I filmed them both ways in one clip. You'll see as I'm dragging over the clip that it goes from vertical to horizontal. And so I rotated the camera. Actually, maybe that whole one is.
So Bill, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What is the advantage of doing it vertically versus horizontally and taking 2 separate photos when, like, you can just take your vertical photo if you wanted on the phone and make it horizontal?
Yeah, I mean, it's the cropping difference, right? Like that's what we're seeing in this clip here. Like it's kind of too far zoomed in. Like if I were to take this, so we're trying to get something that will fill the format for YouTube. And so if I take my vertical clip, at best I've got just about a square here. And so if I want to fill the whole frame, then I've got to stretch it. And so you end up with a different crop area. So with this clip, I'm just remembering that we only film that vertically. So I'm just going to have to deal with that there. Oh, we didn't. Wonderful. So I'm just going to take that one out then. Highlight both and ripple delete it. That's great. Yeah, so we do have a cutting clip here. And see how much better that looks in the frame. I mean, it's kind of like well composed.
Right.
And so that makes it nice and easy. This might be another one. Oh, good. I did flip the camera. And so this clip right here at the very end, just that last few seconds, that could be like a perfect intro for this video. And so I've used the hotkey C, which allows you to cut here. I don't know where my tools went over there, but fortunately I know all the hotkeys. So it gives you like this little razor blade looking thing. And so I'm just going to click right there. I've scrubbed to the right part in the timeline. Now I've got this little itty bitty clip here. I'm actually not going to use any of this camera audio, so I'm just going to delete it all. It'll make it a lot easier to work with. We've got this little itty bitty clip, right? We'll play it. It looks good. That's at full speed. One advantage of doing things, what happened? Did I press enter? I pressed enter. Pressing enter will take you back to the beginning of the timeline. One advantage of using clips at full speed is that you can stabilize them. That's not really what I'm going for in this video, so I'm going to slow this down to 50% speed and use it at the beginning. So, oh, it looks like it's trying to save it for me. So I'm going to zoom in on this so I can context click on it. So the speed and duration is in this menu here. And in the camera, I've already shot this at 60 frames per second. So typical cinema is 24 frames per second. Typical regular video is 30 frames per second. So if you're shooting at a double frame rate, that means you can slow it down by 50% and not lose any frame rate quality. So I'm going to go from 100% to 50. So it's doubled the length of the clip. And now you can see it's got that like really cool, like smooth, slow look to it. So I'm gonna command cut that. And I'm gonna go to the beginning of the timeline and paste it right there. So now we're leading in with this, this clip. At this point, I'm gonna try and decide what I'm gonna do with my music. And so I don't know if this is the right audio track for this video, but I'm gonna at least try and start with it. And I might need to go hunting for something else. It's a little bit of a weird one. I kind of have odd musical tastes. And I think I'm gonna turn down the audio track too, because it's like pretty loud. So I'm gonna turn my audio gain down on this. I'm gonna go like -10 to start and just see. That's like a little bit more palatable right now, at least. I could always turn it back up if I didn't. So this part in the music right here, I've already listened to this track a bunch of times. This part in the music, I really like listening to music and like finding like a moment in the music, like because I like using the music track to sort of help tell the story. And so, you know, really good songs have like an arc to them, like a storytelling arc. They build, they crescendo. You can even see it in the wave format of the song too. If we were to like zoom way in on this and look at the literal wave format of the song, it might like build over time. And so I like looking at the music and trying to figure out like, what is the music going to accomplish for me in building this storytelling too. And so, you know, I know that the music's soft before that break, and then it gets louder after. And so I'm going to think about this. So I want that hit to land when the dish is finished, because that storytelling journey of like the music building and the recipe like coming together, I love that. And so I'm just going to make some guesses about how long that's going to take. I'm going to add a marker there. What is the hotkey? Oh, that's funny. It puts it there. That's fine. So M is like a marker. And so I'm going to go back. Where's that at? 2:30. I kind of think we're going to be about 1.5 minutes on this. And so 2:30. Let's see what it's doing at 3. I kind of want it to be done by now. And so like I'm going to use that part to like fade it out. And so we've got about 30 seconds there. And so I'm going to go back about 1 minute from here and see what's going on. Can I like fade it in? Can I make it sort of sound like the beginning? Perfect. Yeah. And sometimes I'll listen to the phrasing of the music too. Like I'll count bars. I've been a musician my whole life. So like the music like really influences what I do, but maybe almost to a fault. But I'm looking at the wave format here. Like there's like a lead in. You can tell this is almost like a first chorus, then it's like quiet here. So like so here comes the end of the phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we could use that as like a potential starting point. And so now we've got about 1.5 minutes of music. I have no idea if that's the right number or not. I'm just making a guess there. And so now we've got a rough timeline. The thing that's cool about using this program is like I've committed to 1.5 minutes here, but like say that's not the right thing. I can always drag that timeline out and get whatever I had left on the table. And I've got time both before and after, so I can always move it back and forth if I need to. So I'm going to throw that in there. We've got our first clip. So I'm going to start adding some effects. And so the first effect I'm going to add is an audio transition, which is basically allowing the audio to fade in. And so there are a couple options there. Constant gain is like where it has like a, is it like an exponential sort of? Oh, I guess exponential is one. So constant gain is where the gain is constantly coming on. I think constant gain is what we want. So this is where zooming in on the timeline really helps, because that effect is in there and it's hard to grab if it's small. So I've dragged the effect out. So the music should essentially be building as this clip goes. So let's hear what that sounds like. So now, next thing I'm going to do is start building the timeline. Oops, wrong key. Ripple delete. We've got that cut in there. We've got a couple shots here that are showing you what's going on. I think that this whole video is going to look good in slow-mo. That's what we did on Instagram last night on the Reels, and it turned out really nice. So I'm going to basically grab all of these clips and change the time sequence on them. And so you can, that's one of the things you can do, is you can grab all those clips and set the speed to 50%. You can always go back and revert that. And so now we've got full clips here against our music timeline. And we need to figure out how to make the puzzle pieces fit together. Like we've got to adequately tell the story of what we're making. And because this is going on YouTube, we have a couple of choices for storytelling. Like one, you could just make this like art for art's sake. That's just, you're just watching the recipe being made. But we found that videos do better if you have either a voiceover or captions. So probably what I will do for this one is just captions. I don't even know if we'll get there today, because this is I'm already going a lot slower than I normally would. So let's just start hammering out some clips here. And I'll try and do jump cuts with the music. And you really have to like watch the clips kind of fully to see where's like the best part of the clip. I want like the best like 2 to 3 seconds. Now this one's happening off camera, so I actually have to reposition the clip. And so I need to just select that one. Then I need to, you can change rotation, scale, and position of the clip. And so I'm going to move this one down in frame so we can see what's going on. And so that little bit right there where Haley is sliding the knife into the date, that's it. That is literally all of that clip that we need, is like a millisecond. So I'm going to delete the beginning part. I'm going to ripple delete this back. And then the next thing we want is her pulling the date open. And you can see that's happening there. It's happening off camera. So I'm going to position my first cut there. Using the timeline slider is so helpful in these cases, by the way. It makes everything so much easier. So we're off out of the frame again. So we're going to select that clip and bring it back up into the frame. That's pretty much it. Cut. I'll scrub the next piece of the clip to see. She takes the pit out. It's not really that critical to this. And so I'm probably going to leave it out. I don't think I need her putting that down, but I'll do it anyway. I think I'll cut it there and move it. So it's just a sequence of cut, ripple, delete, cut, ripple, delete. So you're taking like the best parts of the video and moving them. I'm not worried too much about syncing this with the music at this point. You know, mostly because the amount of what is good in these clips is actually dictating how long they should be. So we'll just sort of, a lot of times in the editing process, I'll stop and watch like the last 10 seconds and just sort of see what the flow looks like. Okay, so now we need to move this clip up. How's this going so far? Is this I mean, I'm moving very quickly, but like functionally speaking, like we're telling us, is storytelling, is we're trying to use technology to supplement storytelling. So how's this recipe being made? How can we keep people interested throughout the process of making this video? How can we show the best parts? And so it's actually quite simple when it boils down to it, is you've got your video clips and you're just using like cutting and deleting to cut out the stuff that doesn't really lend itself to a story. Like I can communicate putting the date on this parchment lined baking sheet with like just that.
Right.
And oftentimes I will do that. I will just distill it to the most fundamental motion. And so there's the end of that clip. Now, hopefully we get out of, so now we're out of portrait film purgatory there, and we'll actually be able to see what we're doing. So this next clip, I love showing the Georgia grinders. And sometimes I'll film things a couple of different ways. Like, I think I actually filmed the Georgia grinders thing. Yeah. I filmed that in portrait, and then I filmed it in landscape. And so sometimes things will be out of sequence, like in the camera, and I'll need to go back and do it again. Like you can see here, I've done a pull focus on this like 3 different times just to give myself an option of which one looks the best. Okay, and so now we've got this one. Another cool thing that you can do, I think that's what I planned on here, is if you want to do like a cool pull focus effect. So you can go from focused to out of focus and then reverse the speed of the clip. And so what that allows you to do is to get super precise with your focus. Like if you're thinking about it in reverse, it gives you the perfect endpoint, and it doesn't matter how you pull away from it. And so right now it's going from perfectly in focus to pulling away. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, that's cool there. That would be like a good end. And that would be a good beginning. I'll trim those other pieces away. And then this is also on that speed duration pane. And you'll click reverse speed. And so now you've got this clip in reverse. You see end perfectly in focus on it. And so, sorry, I'm like going through like every little thing I can think of here. Okay, so I've dragged that into the timeline where it makes sense. So now you've got opening the date, you're setting on a parchment sheet, and now we're focusing on. And so now with a clip like this, it's a little bit longer. I have the luxury of snapping it to the timeline with the music. And so what I'll do is I'll listen to the music. Some of these are pretty close. 3, 4, 1. And so I'll actually stop the music. You can see it in the waveform on the, sometimes actually it might help if I zoom out. You can see like there's a little peak on the waveform there too, just if you need confirmation, but I'll snap it right to the music. So the jump cut then all of a sudden is perfectly with the music. And so now we've already set the stage for why the Georgia grinders cashew butter is there. We know why the dates are there. And so now that really makes sense in the sequence. So I'm going to ripple delete that away. And now I'm going to look for the best one of Haley filling it. And it's okay that this is a little bit out of focus because it pulls into focus. It's kind of like when you wake up in the morning and your eyes are focused and you're like, what just happened? That would be okay. If I could start it there. So that's one option. This one I missed because I don't slow Haley down when she's cooking. I just try and like make do. Actually, that's even better. See, look at that. You can communicate filling the date with the cashew butter just like that. And so that's the one I'm going to use. I'm going to delete these 2 away. We can actually ripple delete it. And I'll listen to the music. It's a little bit long, but I might leave it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. And so, and then she pinches it, right? She pinches it to sort of close it. So I need that clip there. Ripple deleting the piece I didn't use. So some of these end up being a little long, and then she's putting it down. Again, like that's all it takes to communicate putting it down is just like that little itty bitty piece there. And use a 2 beat on that instead of a 4. And then I'll look at the rest of this clip. You know, did I miss anything? Is there anything that looks better there? There's like a nice little pan shot that I did. And we shoot almost everything handheld while we're cooking, just for the ease of like working around the kitchen. And yeah, if you're working solo, like obviously like using a tripod will make some things more complicated and some things a lot more easy. So like you won't have a lot of camera shake, but you might not have as dynamic of a shot as like a panning shot. So that's good there. So I'm listening for the beat and the music. Got that shot there. This is the same type of thing, so I'm gonna delete that away. We've got a shot for our friends that enjoy life. I might even use this one here because it's showing opening the bag and it's framing the product nicely. Like it doesn't need to be a lot. I'll listen for the music. I've got some padding there. There's the one. I'm gonna cut it there. And then this actually was filmed vertically, but it works perfectly horizontally because I was directly overhead. So I'm gonna look for the part where like the chocolate chips are most spilling out of the bag because they're in slow-mo. It's gonna be really cool. So I'm gonna stop there. Ripple delete that away. And I almost always go back 1 or 2 clips just so I can see how it fits in. I can listen for the music. So again, stopping on the beat. There's a lot of that. I don't like, here's a vertical shot that I took where it's like panning and pouring. That's like really, that would have been really pretty in the other clip. Select and ripple delete. And then just from talking to Haley last night, she didn't really want to focus a lot on the tempering of the chocolate in this video. And so that part is actually not super critical. And so I don't have the best clip here. I actually filmed this a lot better in portrait. So I'm gonna rotate this clip and we'll just see how it would look. It's pretty far zoomed in. Yeah, you can just see how the cropping doesn't work that well. Now that's not bad. And so if I can, I'll do a little bit of trickery here. Well, let's play it at speed and just see before I commit to it. Yeah, that's fine. So she wants to communicate like stirring in the unmelted chocolate chips. I don't think I'm using this, but no, that's pretty good. I'm always looking for, is it in focus? Is it smooth? And well lit is a bonus for sure. I want it to be well lit. So there's a couple different like real light pans. That one might be the best one because I'm looking in the bowl. We're gonna go out of sequence here. And so we've got melted chocolate. I wonder how much I need there. I'm just gonna use that much. Try and keep this tight and tight. Okay, delete that. Move this in here. So showing that we're melting the chocolate chips and tempering it. Something like that is really nice. The camera shook a little bit at the end. You can see how the camera moves quickly. So that's not great. I might try and extend it on this end of the clip to see if I can get that to fit the music perfectly without shaking. Perfect. So that gets us there right before the camera shakes. This clip is a little bit dark. So I'm going to use a function called lumetri color on this. There's a lot of functions in here that are very hard to find. That lumetri color is the best color correction one. So your effects end up in this pane over here. So if I added a bunch of effects, I could have all the controls over here. And then I'm just going to try the exposure a little bit first. I don't want to go too far up because it'll get grainy, but you can see how that immediately is just brightened it up enough where it looks like the rest of the video. Maybe it's a hair darker. I could probably try going a little bit further, but it might end up being a little sketchy. You can start seeing some graininess. It's not too bad. So we'll just leave it there. Okay, so we're tempering chocolate. I probably should have used that as a scene setting thing. So we're going to make that fix now. This might actually be a good first piece. All right, we're going to use another level of video to park some clips. And so I'm going to grab this clip and park it up there. I'm going to move this clip over. So in tempering the chocolate, you gently melt like 2/3 of it to like 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and then you mix in the rest. Have either of you ever melt tempered chocolate? Yeah. So we need to set the stage for that in the video so that when we caption it, it makes sense. Okay, so this clip might want to be a different length now. So that actually becomes a shorter clip. And then we're going to use that clip there to communicate pouring in more chocolate. Now, do I have a good shot of this stirring in? You can see how the other one supersedes it. So as you move up vertically in the timelines, it will supersede whatever's below it. Turn the camera right, is that right the part I needed. I'm trying to decide if that clip's better or not. I'm actually going to rotate that one too, and you'll just see. So you're getting sort of the real-time decision making of like, what do I need to do to make this work? Oh yeah, I need to scale it. So the question is this better or is this better? The framing is about the same. This one has a little bit richer colors. Like this one we shot a little too bright. Like the chocolate looks chalky. It's a little, I could fix that. I could go in and change the color of it and say, okay, I want the exposure to come down until the chocolate looks perfect. So I could do that. The color correction isn't super in here. So I think instead I'm going to opt for using this clip. That's actually really pretty right there. Okay. So this piece is gone. This piece is gone. And this piece comes in. All right, we'll tie it into the music. The benefit of having some of these longer clips in here where you've either got the camera stationary or you're doing like a really gentle pan across it or everything's just tight and in focus. When you have these shorter clips that maybe don't, like we're like the end of the bag of chocolate chips there. It's like, I can't extend that clip, I dead time at the beginning of that isn't going to look good. And so it falls off the beat of the music. So I'm actually using this clip to catch up on that. Okay, so that's where that clip ends. Go delete those, ripple delete. This looks like just more chocolate stirring. Yeah, then there's this shot. God, that looks good. I wish I'd shot that in the other orientation, but I only got it once. So I'm gonna turn this. I'll just check once more that I didn't get it. Yeah, the other orientation, I didn't. So I'm gonna turn that on. And normally you wouldn't have to do some of this stuff. Like you know, you can either be smarter about the way you shoot, not shooting things in both portrait and landscape. Maybe you're just shooting for one or the other. And so like we can still make this work. It actually looks really good. Like it's just a matter of like, is the position correct? And so I love watching this bubble come across the spatula. That shows the motion there more than anything. So I'm going to clip out that beginning part. And I'm going to use the music to dictate where the cut goes. And then I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to move it down so I can see what's going on. And then for this one, I'm going to go here. And it seems like it's in focus there. And could be really beneficial if I slide it down. Oops, I want to see it there. And so you can see the camera focus passes through that for like 1/10 of a second at the most. But that's all it really takes to know that that chocolate's going in the bowl. So, oh yeah, that clip should be brighter. Let's do that while we're here. There we go. Yeah, this clip is really dark. Basic correction, exposure. You can just slide this. You can punch in a value if you want. And I'm using, I don't know if I've said this before, I'm using spacebar to pause the video. So it's like a start stop function. One of the things that's interesting about this clip, where it's really not in focus for the last half of it, I might use that as like a fade to something else, because I think we're done with the chocolate in the bowl, at least until the next step. This is a rare case where I got something better on the camera in this orientation. Okay, so now we're covering the cashew butter with chocolate. We're not going to get through all this in an hour, but I'm trying the best I can. So where these two clips converge, we can do a transition. And I'm going to dissolve them together. So across dissolve will basically layer the two video clips and blur them. So I'm going to put the effect in there. And let's just see how it looks without changing it. Pretty nice. I might start it a little bit earlier. And grab that. Just drag it. Okay, I'm actually gonna, oops, I'll let that clip go a little bit longer because I think we're getting to a pretty good point time-wise with this. Okay, and then all right, so now the date is down in the chocolate. That's where I want to be right now. I'm just going to leave that whole piece just like that. It's showing what's going on. The music is scrubbing really loudly because that's where the crescendo is in the music. This was a really good piece of video too. Is this angle was so pretty. This is like shooting backlit, so towards the, actually this is being filmed right where I am right now, so it's being filmed towards the window. And so I'm like looking ahead, like what do I have here? I've got two different angles to show the same thing. I'm going to mix the clips and show. So you've got that piece, and you've also got this view too. I love the way that this looks. And so I'm actually going to jump ahead I'm gonna, let's see. I always want to make sure I'm not removing something that I'll need in the future. So this is just a different angle of communicating the same thing. I'm gonna move that ahead. Just gonna guess on the timing of that clip. Throw it over here. And then there was like a really nice low angle shot of showing the chocolate like drizzling off, where like it was like a little bit more blown out. Where did it go? I'll give the computer a second to. Maybe it's the other angle that I shot. No, this maybe it's this. Okay, so it must have been the vertical one that I shot. That's kind of cool though. It shows like bringing it over to the bowl once you've oops. Escape. I think my computer's freaking out at how much I'm throwing at it right now. That's a cool clip too, pulling it out. Look at that ribbon of chocolate that comes off. So I'm gonna grab that. Throw it over there. I think we're getting close to the. So the interesting thing is that we're actually really, we have like a whole phrase of music there that might not get used. So I might shuffle things around with that. And that's all I really need there is just, I'm putting this on the baking sheet. Click those and delete them. That's pretty nice.
Hey, Bill, I have to hop off. I can see Poppy digging a hole in the yard currently. I'm gonna run and go grab her.
Yeah,
But I could watch this all day. It's so mesmerizing.
no problem. Yeah, I'm gonna try and get to the end of the timeline and that'll just be like chunk A. I mean, adding captions is really not that difficult. But
Yeah.
this was really just to help somebody get inside like my mindset in terms of like what's the workflow of doing something like this, like telling the story. Go get Poppy if you can rejoin, no problem, but I'm gonna share the recording anyway. So
Okay. Thank you. Have a good
all right,
weekend.
See
no
you ahead.
problem.
Bye.
Bye.
All I
Okay.
can say is I need one of you in my house, Bill. You're amazing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so a few more clips here. We're actually getting pretty close to what we need. See, there's sprinkling the nuts on. That's probably the next thing actually, is just, I'm gonna go back until I want to make sure that's not on there when I start it. You can use your arrow keys to advance it too, which is really helpful if you need to get super precise. Let's see where we're at. So I've decided at this point, I do want to cut that phrase out because these are almost finished. So I'd rather go back and delete a little bit of time off of these than try and fill whatever it is, 30 seconds for the crescendo of the music. This one might actually be fine in real time. It seems like it happens really slowly in 50%. So then I'm gonna go back and do 100. Let's see if it looks weird. No, it's totally fine. Okay, we'll take that away. I think we did salt too. Perfect. Ripple delete. Oh yeah, and I'm gonna change the song too. So now I have to listen to music. So oops. So that is the same phrasing as Wait, did I do it too soon? I think I need to do it earlier. It's an eight bar. Okay. Okay, it's 8 bars, it's not 4. Let me go back here and it's there. Okay. So I'm gonna delete that and delete that. Ripple delete. Oops. Oh, well, let me do it because whatever. What's on the other timeline? Okay. And so this is where you're gonna use the crossfade to make it sound like you've done the right thing in the music. Let's see if I can do that. Let's break. Cool. And so I'm like so close to that like cutting of the thing.
Mhm.
And so I've like, there's a couple clips over here. You can see them. They're longer. I can take some time away. Even this beginning clip too. So now I can use it to my advantage. I've put so many of the clips on the beat of the music that if I move the other clips to the beat of the music, I can just march things backwards so I can orchestrate that hit at like the precise right moment. This one needs to be in real time because it happens slowly in real life. No, that needs to be. I'll just pick the best part of it. So now I'm gonna like look and see like when does the most salt drop? Right there, maybe. Ripple delete that. Perfect. So now I can do a 4 count of that. Blow that away. What else do we have? I think my computer's so mad at me. I'm gonna close Photoshop because I think that's actually like Photoshop takes like several gigs of processing speed away. All right, let's see if I can get this computer to behave a little bit better. All right, so we've got that. You've got a vertical clip there. Oh yeah, the drizzling of the chocolate. So that is the next thing. We've done the salt. We've done the cashews, and I flipped the camera here, which is great. And so right off the bat, I'm just going to take everything before this, delete it. I'm going to save my work because my computer is not behaving well. Just in case, always recommend saving your work as you go. I've lost so many things. All right, I'm going to drag all these over and get closer in on the timeline. Just sort of see. So this could be a really great moment to have that crescendo in the music because like who doesn't like chocolate being drizzled on something?
Right.
And so this looks great, right? Like the ribbon of chocolate is like a consistent thickness going back and forth. That like, Haley did a really good job of like controlling it there. I might start it right there. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I don't delete everything there. I'll delete that. And I'm gonna really indulge in these clips being like full length at the end because like the music is like doing good things. Like you want to see this, you want to see it finished. Although I only need the chocolate drizzling once, so I'm not going to show any more of that. That's a really like both of these are really good shots, like panning shots of the finished product. So I'm going to save that. I don't need the rest of that clip. After we panned over it, Haley was like, let's do a cutting shot. We also showed shots of how the chocolate is like fully tempered.
Right.
So the cutting shot would probably be next. That's really nice. So probably I'm gonna I'll look and see like where does like the motion end? Like she like wiggles the knife afterwards, and like that's not as appealing as like I'll look and see like her hand's kind of in the way there. Otherwise, I probably would have used that as a reveal. So as it is now, I'm looking for like what looks good, you know, what's in focus.
I'm about ready to run to the closet for dates and Georgia grinders.
Ah, yeah. So those look good. Oh yeah, and then I have this piece too. Pull that in. Now that I leave myself enough room in the timeline, I did. We're getting really close, actually. Almost an hour. I mean, if I hadn't been blabbing the whole time. Yeah, so drizzling the chocolate, cutting, panning across it, showing the temper. And it looks like I cut out the piece that I used in the beginning. And I'm looking to see like how much of this is in focus, how much of this really shows what's going on. That's pretty. I mean, it's not very long, but like that's really crisp in focus. That's probably the clip right there. So it's like, you know, a lot of times when you're shooting handheld in situations that aren't controlled very well,
Mhm.
you know, you gotta pick the best that you can do. So that's probably pretty good there. Yeah, so I keep flipping back and forth between horizontal and vertical. There was also this like 2 millisecond clip here where the camera was stationary over it that looked really good too. That's good. I'll use that also. I'll delete those two. And drag these in. And then I'm going to go, oh, I didn't edit these in time yet. So let's see. That would be a really good opportunity for a cross dissolve, because like the of the symbol, you know, in that part of the song could be really cool. And this is a long clip, so I can also cross dissolve it primarily in that clip. So I'm going to go back into the beat here. Good enough. We know that it's being cut. This one I might do for 8 counts. Okay. Triple delete, cross dissolve. Drag the cross dissolve across it. Oh, so there's some camera shake there. So let's see. Oh, it's because of that. So I can't do a big cross dissolve there because I'm literally, the frame before this is when the camera flips. Although the subject gets into focus right there, so I could actually delete the beginning part, slide it up, and then put that cross dissolve in there so that we're not dissolving it against the, if you're dissolving the clips, so like here's the cut between the clips right here. What this means is that this amount of time before this clip is being laid underneath this part of this clip. And so if the camera is spinning here and then I've got the jump cut, I can't do it because you're going to have this really weird effect. So,
Okay.
so you can see now that it's like it's corrected because I've you know cut the clip differently. I really want that clip to last until there. And I'm just gonna go back to like a quicker pacing for these last two. Actually, I'm gonna flip them because if I want a quicker cut, it's gotta be on this one. I gotta resequence them. And then the interesting thing about this is now I can go and if I'm happy with the way that the timeline sets up, I can grab the end of the song. I can actually extend this back out and cut it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'll watch this now, essentially like this rough cut the whole way through, like which clips are too short, which clips are too long. It'll allow me to readjust them against, the song, so it all makes sense. I'm actually going to cut that right to the music. So it might amount to me needing to adjust 1 or 2 more clips in this beginning part, just to sort of get it back on the beat. You can hear it's happening on the clap, so it actually worked perfectly. All right, that one's too long. I already know because I'm bored of that clip. So I'll delete that one out and move everything up. Normally you can ripple delete, but something must be funky in this timeline. It's not letting me do it. So and I'm gonna keep that one on the beat there too. So some of these clips that were a little bit more indulgent to begin with, now I know that they need to be shorter, so I'm going to keep them shorter. Yeah. So I love that this clip is longer. I might split it and like zoom in, just some sort of effect there.
Mhm.
2, 3, 4, and then I'm gonna, for the last 4 counts, I'm actually going to, I remember that this thing like flipped over and it was more in focus. So I'm actually going to change yeah, that looks good. So I'm going to change the orientation of it, or there's gonna be like a little, just like a little jump cut there. It takes out like half a second.
Mhm.
And I'm going to zoom in on it so that it like really looks different. And move it up just so it's 100% in focus. So now we're gonna have just more interest. Now that didn't land right on the beat at the end. You can see that amount of time actually makes a difference. So I don't know. Let's see, the camera flips there. That's kind of a shame. Where does the camera end? Let's listen to the phrase. Oh, it won't keep going. That's weird. So what does this look like ahead of that? Pretty good. I'm gonna put in another cross dissolve and I'm gonna fade the audio out. I'm gonna do a constant gain on it. Just like we did at the beginning. Zoom in so I can see it. I'm gonna bring it like this. That's it. Command save. And so after that, so like that's building the sequence. After that, it actually it's then it's just a matter of captioning it. And so like over this initial sequence, I might just grab like a basic title or something. There's the basic title. Basic title. You're just going to drag this into your sequence, and you can do your title. And you can make it look however you want. This is essentially like a word sort of editor here. So let's see. Probably gonna move that to another line. And in the text we normally use, actually maybe like Arial black, or just something that's like really something easier to read, maybe Lato. That's not that easy to read. We'll just use what we always use. And you can do whatever you want here. You can make it, you can make them really big, you can move it off to the side. And the captioning works that way too. I'm saving it again because I get really scared I'm going to lose my work at the end. The captioning is actually really easy too. They have all these different options here for, bold captioning. There's like a web captioning one too. Where is it? Simple broadcast, simple web caption. Yeah, and so you can build the web captioning in too. And so you can, say like slice the dates. And this timeline works exactly the way the other video timeline effects work too.
Okay.
And so you can drag and drop it and snap it to the audio clips too. So that does like a weird slide in thing, but you get the point. So then
Yeah.
from there, it's actually very simple. And then you'd export the video. And so the best settings for that would be going to File. As soon as it opens, I think this is a pretty heavy demand on the computer. Export media. And then this H.264 format is like the best encryption, export format for videos. And you can match the source. And so when I shoot in 60 frames per second, that's like a 1080p HD format. And so I can match the source format there, and then you just pick the name. So I made the reel last night, 3 ingredient paleo candy bars. This one is for YouTube. Click save and then click export. And so I'm not going to do that. But there's a lot to digest there, but fundamentally it's actually, there's not a lot of complexity there. It's just, there's a few simple commands that you're using to sequence that video against a song. And it can be a voiceover track. It can be a mix of both too. You can do audio mixing where you can lower the sound of the music. You can bring up the sound of the voice. A lot of that stuff you can do natively in Instagram, but here you can change the speed and it looks better. You can add those transitions between clips and it looks better. And ultimately, if you end up shooting with an SLR, it gives you the option to use something that's much higher quality than your phone too.
Wow. It's amazing. Really amazing. I mean, the whole thing behind it is just incredible.
Yeah, so it's that's my workflow for making a video. I've done at this point probably like 100 of them. So I kind of have like a specific process. Haley and Tony will tell you that the hardest part for me is picking a song that I like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can use anything you like, really. I mean, people will use like trending music for their reels. And but at the end of the day, it's about what you want to do. So
Right.
So
Wow.
so I know that for you specifically, this isn't the type of content that you're producing right now, but having the ability to like see the way forward, I hope is helpful for you because
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's just, and like Haley said, it's mesmerizing. It really is. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Goes behind doing just a simple little video.
Yeah, well, it's after doing it a few times, it's actually pretty simple to do it too. So I hope today's little class was helpful, and for anyone who's watching the replay, I hope they find it helpful too. just to sort of see, you know, behind the curtain of like, how do you make a YouTube video like that? And
Yeah.
that's what I showed is probably 80% of what goes into it.
Now I just have to teach David how to video while I'm doing stuff.
Yeah, a steady hand or a tripod goes a long way.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much. I really
sure.
appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. I'm gonna stop the recording right now.